Analytica. Also with us, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman, let me start with you. Is Cambridge Analytica, in fact, helping the House Intel Committee with this investigation?
Well, if it does, it will be fairly new. Certainly, we had Alexander Nix testify. Now, this was done at majority insistence by video conference, even though Mr. Nix told us that he was willing to come in person. Nonetheless, we didn't get the information that we needed, and in light of these whistleblower allegations, there are serious questions about the truthfulness of Mr. Nix's testimony. So we have invited Christopher Wiley to come in. He'll be testifying before us. We're also inviting Alexander Kogan to come in, and we ought to bring Alexander Nix back, and frankly, the other Cambridge Analytica witnesses that had been on our witness list. Still a lot of questions. How did they get this data? What did Facebook know about the method in which they got the data? Did they bring on this researcher for the purpose of obtaining it inappropriately? These are important questions, as well as the links to Lukoil and Alexander Kogan's links to St. Petersburg University.
So we can try and put some of those questions to Kylie. What are the key revelations that come out of this undercover video and this great reporting?
Well, first of all, we've had a number of films. So this was undercover reporting where a couple of our team members went along and pretended to be Sri Lankan nationals looking for advice on how to win some elections in Sri Lanka. So Cambridge Analytica, we had 4 meetings with them. For the final meeting, Alexander Nix himself turned up. They talked about a whole series of kind of dirty tricks about sending Ukrainian women around to rooms where potential opponents could be filmed and that could be put out on the internet. They talked about bribery. They talked about how information doesn't necessarily need to be true, it just needs to be believable. And the way that you use the internet, I think it was really revealing. They talked about kind of just putting things into the bloodstream of the internet that was kind of untrackable and untraceable. So they described a world of using...
Chilling.
Yeah. It's absolutely chilling.
Mike Barnacle.
Congressman Schiff, for the technologically incompetent, that would be me and perhaps many others, can you explain how this information was weaponized and where is Facebook in all of this? Are they fully cooperating?
Well, I think it was weaponized in a very sophisticated way. The Cambridge Analytica, the data analytics firm, acquired 50 million users' information, private data. They used this to try to analyze these individual Facebook users to figure out how would they be vulnerable to different messages. Should they appeal to fear? Should they appeal to hatred? How can they tailor-make specific messages for specific audiences in the service of the Trump campaign? This, while those users who are being targeted would not have known that their private data was being effectively used against them. Now, I think among the questions we need answers from Facebook and don't yet have them, although we are getting a briefing today, are, why did it take until now to suspend Cambridge Analytica? What did they know about this breach? What did they do to audit to determine whether, in fact, when representations were made that the data was destroyed, whether, in fact, it was destroyed? And are there counter indications now? So a lot of, I think, very important questions. I'm sure the FTC will have other questions, too, in terms of whether Facebook has complied with a consent decree that required disclosure of the violation of the privacy of their users' data. So a lot, I think, for Facebook to answer.
Kylie, we don't know exactly what impact Cambridge Analytica's work had on the election or on American voters. And there's been some speculation that actually they were sort of selling something that was much bigger than what they actually had. But we do know that the Mercers funded Cambridge Analytica, that Steve Bannon was the vice president on Cambridge Analytica's board. So connect the dots from us for what the Trump campaign and his supporters were trying to do with Cambridge Analytica and what they knew about. How much did they know what this organization was selling?
So Steve Bannon was involved at the very earliest stages, at the kind of inception of Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica is built off the back of a British company, SCL, which has existed for many years. So Cambridge Analytica, the Mercers get involved. They put money behind the company. Steve Bannon is there, as we've heard from the whistleblower, looking for ways to kind of weaponize his culture wars. He's looking for information and an approach, algorithms that might magically deliver that. So that is what they're working on. They become involved early. In 2014, we know they were involved on a couple of Senate races for the midterms. And then coming into 2016, initially they're working with the Cruz campaign, and then the Mercer money and all that technology, all that data gets moved to the Trump campaign. We know from contemporaneous reporting at the time that, that targeting, that information was used to better target the kind of Facebook ads that were used very enthusiastically by the campaign in the final months. However, the campaign says, Cambridge Analytica says, the stolen Facebook data wasn't instrumental in the work that was done at that time. It's very difficult for us to check that. The whistleblower wasn't working in the company at that time. So there are lots of questions still to be answered.
Congressman, I as we close, want to just turn to another, the big story of the morning, which is the developments on the part of the White House, the president, and inside the White House involving the president's call with Vladimir Putin, how it was handled, the information that was leaked that he should not congratulate him, and yet he did on this, quote, election, and then how the White House handled, the press office handled answering questions about that. How would you characterize where we stand right now as it pertains to Trump and Russia and the investigation?
Well, we've certainly come a long way from the days when we would bear any burden, pay any price in support of freedom to the kind of Sarah Sanders explanation that, well, we really can't comment or affect democracy in other places. That is not the position of the leader of the free world. And for the President of the United States to call, congratulate him against the advice of his cabinet, when Putin essentially prohibited his main rival from running for office, what kind of congratulations are due for that subversion of the democratic process? I think John McCain is absolutely right. It's an assault to every Russian voter.